First Contact and Unexpected Discovery. Supreme Commander Koravan stood before the vast observation window of the Eternal Dominance, flagship of the Krellian Empire's 7th expansion fleet. His 4 eyes narrowed as he studied the holographic display showing their latest discovery. 3 standard cycles had passed since their sensors detected an unusual energy signature in the contested Verge sector, a region the Krellians considered rightfully theirs despite the objections of several lesser species. "Magnify Sector 47C," Koravan ordered, his voice carrying the distinctive metallic resonance of the warrior caste. The hologram shifted, focusing on a solitary vessel drifting silently through the void. Its design was unmistakably human, angular and utilitarian, lacking the elegant biomechanical aesthetics of Krellian engineering. The ship was relatively small, perhaps a fifth the size of the Eternal Dominance, with minimal external armaments visible on its dark hull. "Humans," Koravan said, allowing a hint of disdain to color his voice. "So far from their usual territory." His second-in-command, Sub-Commander Nelvera, approached with calculated precision. Unlike Koravan's slate-gray exoskeleton, hers had a faint purple hue, a mark of her prestigious lineage. "The ship appears to be a Terran vessel, classification unknown," she reported. "Our databases have no exact match, though the design suggests a patrol craft or perhaps a light destroyer. Preliminary scans show minimal energy signatures. It may be damaged or deliberately operating at reduced power." Koravan's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. Humans are not known for subtlety. What is one of their ships doing alone in the Verge? The Krellian Empire had encountered humans only twice before. Both encounters had been brief and unremarkable. Human technology was considered centuries behind the Krellian standard: primitive FTL engines, rudimentary shield systems, and laughably weak weapons. Their only strength seemed to be their adaptability and surprising endurance, traits that Koravan found admirable but ultimately irrelevant against superior technology. "Perhaps they seek to establish a presence here," Nelvera suggested. "Their recent attempts to join the Galactic Council suggest growing ambitions." "Foolish ambitions," Koravan rumbled. "Begin a comprehensive scan of the vessel. I want to know its capabilities, crew complement, and purpose. Then we will decide whether to destroy it or simply escort it from our territory." "As you command, Supreme Commander." The massive Krellian warship altered course, approaching the human vessel with predatory grace. As they drew closer, superior Krellian sensors penetrated the human ship's hull, mapping internal structures and searching for life signs. Science Officer Xerix hunched over his console, 4 nimble hands working multiple interfaces simultaneously. His exoskeleton was thinner than the warrior's, adapted for intellectual rather than physical combat. "Supreme Commander, I'm detecting anomalies," Xerix reported, his voice carrying concern. "The scan is being resisted." Koravan turned sharply. "Explain." "The human vessel appears to have defensive countermeasures against scanning technology. Our sensors are being actively deflected or deceived." Xerix paused, mandibles clicking in frustration. "This is unexpected. Human technology should not be capable of this level of counterintelligence." Koravan moved to the science station, towering over the smaller officer. "Show me." The display revealed chaotic data patterns where there should have been clear structural images. Where they could penetrate, the internal layout of the ship defied conventional design logic. Compartments existed where they served no apparent purpose. Power conduits took circuitous routes rather than efficient direct paths. The engine room contained technology that seemed both primitive and paradoxically advanced. "This can't be right," Nelvera said, joining them. "The energy readings are inconsistent. One moment they suggest a basic fusion reactor, the next something far more sophisticated." Koravan's instincts, honed across 3 centuries of military service, triggered a warning sensation down his dorsal ridge. Something was wrong. This human vessel was not what it appeared to be. "Attempt to establish communication," he ordered. Communications Officer Thrix sent standard greeting protocols on all frequencies. Minutes passed with no response. No acknowledgement. Supreme Commander, Thrix reported. They may be unable to communicate or are choosing not to respond. Koravan made his decision. Prepare a boarding party. 20 warriors, 5 technicians, and 2 science officers. I will lead personally. Nelvera's antennae twitched in surprise. Supreme Commander, protocol dictates. I am aware of protocol, Sub-Commander, Koravan interrupted. But this situation requires direct assessment. You will command the eternal dominance in my absence. As the boarding party assembled in the launch bay, Koravan addressed his elite warriors. Each stood nearly 3 meters tall, their exoskeletons enhanced with integrated battle armor that made them even more imposing. They carried energy lances capable of cutting through most known materials and personal shields that could withstand substantial damage. This mission is primarily reconnaissance, Koravan explained. We are dealing with humans, a species known to be technologically inferior, but occasionally unpredictable. Our objective is to determine the purpose of this vessel and remove it from Krellian space. Use non-lethal force unless absolutely necessary. Remember that humans are fragile compared to our kind. The boarding shuttle detached from the Eternal Dominance and approached the human vessel. Up close, the ship looked even more unimpressive. Its hull marked with micro-meteoroid impacts and what appeared to be hasty repairs. Yet something about it triggered Koravan's ancestral instincts, a sense of danger that had kept his lineage alive through countless conflicts. Scan for entry points, he ordered. There appears to be a functional airlock on the port side, reported tech specialist Mevar. Atmospheric readings within the ship indicate a standard oxygen-nitrogen mix consistent with human requirements. The shuttle docked with surprising ease, the human airlock adapting to accommodate the Krellian connection port despite the different technologies. This small detail further unsettled Koravan. The adaptation happened too quickly, too efficiently for supposedly inferior technology. Pressurization complete, Mevar announced. We can proceed. Koravan led his team through the airlock into the human vessel. The interior was dimly lit, emergency lighting casting long shadows along narrow corridors. The air carried the distinctive scent of human habitation, a mixture of organic compounds, synthetic materials, and recycled atmosphere. Life signs, Koravan asked. Science Officer Valine consulted her handheld scanner. Inconclusive. There are energy patterns consistent with biometric signatures, but they're diffuse and difficult to pinpoint. If humans are aboard, they're either hiding or the ship's structure is somehow masking their presence. The boarding party moved deeper into the vessel, passing through compartments that seemed designed with deliberate inefficiency. Corridors curved when they could have been straight. Rooms contained equipment whose purpose wasn't immediately obvious. This is unlike any human vessel in our records, Valine noted, examining a console with interest. Their typical designs prioritized functional efficiency over everything else. This ship seems almost deliberately confusing. As they reached what appeared to be the bridge, Koravan noticed something else unsettling. Despite signs of human presence, personal items left at stations, half-consumed food rations, there were no humans to be found. It was as if the crew had simply vanished moments before their arrival. Access their computer systems, Koravan ordered. Tech specialist Mevar connected to a console, his specialized interface adapting to the human technology. Their systems are unusual, Supreme Commander. The architecture doesn't follow standard human protocols. I'm encountering adaptive firewalls that. The lights suddenly brightened, and all displays on the bridge activated simultaneously. A voice, distinctly human but with an artificial quality, filled the compartment. Unidentified boarding party detected. Initiating Security Protocol Theta-7. Before any of the Krellians could react, transparent barriers slammed down from the ceiling, separating the boarding party into isolated groups. Koravan found himself alone with Valine, cut off from the rest of his warriors. Supreme Commander, Valine said urgently, these barriers appear to be composed of a photonic lattice with molecular reinforcement. It's technology far beyond what humans should possess. Koravan struck the barrier with his energy lance. The weapon, capable of cutting through battleship armor, barely left a mark. The human voice spoke again. Please refrain from damaging U.S. Harbinger systems. Your weapons have been temporarily neutralized for your safety. As if to demonstrate, Koravan's energy lance powered down, along with all other Krellian equipment. Even their integrated armor systems flickered and reset to basic life support functions. Impossible, Veline whispered, staring at her now useless scanner. No species has ever developed technology that can selectively disable Krellian systems. A hologram materialized in the center of the bridge, a human female in what appeared to be a military uniform. Though the projection, they could not discern whether it represented an actual person or was merely an interface. I am HFY, Advanced Responsive Intelligence Assistant of the United Earth Alliance vessel Harbinger. You have boarded this vessel without authorization. State your identity and purpose. Koravan drew himself to his full height, mandibles flaring in what humans would recognize as aggressive display. I am Supreme Commander Koravan of the Krellian Empire's 7th Expansion Fleet. This sector falls under Krellian jurisdiction. Your vessel has intruded into our sovereign territory. The hologram showed no reaction to his intimidating posture. This sector falls within disputed space under Galactic Council Resolution 3372B. The Harbinger is operating within its legal rights of passage. Your boarding action constitutes a violation of interstellar law. The Krellian Empire does not recognize Council authority in the Verge, Koravan replied. Where is your human crew? Why do you hide? The hologram tilted its head slightly. That information is classified. However, I have been authorized to inform you that this vessel serves as an assessment platform. Assessment? Veline asked. Of what? Of you, Science Officer Veline, daughter of Clan Syrinx, specialist in xenobiology and comparative technological analysis. The AI's precise knowledge of Veline's identity caused the science officer's antennae to twitch in alarm. And you, Supreme Commander Koravan, third-generation warrior elite, veteran of the Proxian conflict, and architect of the Melvarian subjugation. Koravan felt a sensation he had not experienced in decades. Uncertainty. How do you have this information? Humanity has been studying the Krellian Empire for some time, the AI responded. This vessel was placed here specifically to evaluate your response patterns. Your behavior has been predictable. A new hologram appeared, a three-dimensional map of Krellian space with detailed information about fleet movements, defensive capabilities, and resource allocations. The level of intelligence displayed was impossible. No species had ever penetrated Krellian security to this degree. This is deception, Koravan declared, though doubt had begun to creep into his mind. Human technology can't. Your underestimation of human capabilities was anticipated, the AI interrupted. It represents a consistent pattern among Krellian leadership. Your species relies heavily on technological superiority and becomes disproportionately distressed when that advantage is questioned. Throughout the ship, Koravan could hear his warriors attempting to break free of their containment without success. The human vessel, previously dismissed as primitive, had effortlessly neutralized an elite Krellian boarding party. What do you want? Koravan demanded. To establish parameters for future interactions, the AI replied. The United Earth Alliance prefers diplomatic relations where possible, but will respond decisively to aggression. This demonstration serves as both warning and invitation. The barriers suddenly disappeared, and Krellian systems reactivated. Koravan's warriors immediately moved to defensive positions around him. You are free to return to your vessel, Supreme Commander, the AI continued. A data packet has been transmitted to your ship containing diplomatic credentials and proposed guidelines for territorial delineation in the Verge sector. Humanity would prefer peaceful coexistence, but we are prepared for alternatives. As Koravan led his warriors back to the shuttle, a final message came through his personal communicator, a direct transmission bypassing all Krellian security protocols. One last thing, Supreme Commander. The Harbinger is not our most advanced vessel. It is merely the one we chose to reveal to you. Consider that carefully before your next report to the Imperial hierarchy. Boarding the shuttle, Koravan maintained his composure, but his mind raced with implications. If this vessel, this apparently unimpressive human ship, could neutralize Krellian technology so effortlessly, what else might humans be capable of? For the first time in his long career, Supreme Commander Koravan felt something unfamiliar settle into his consciousness, respect for a potential adversary, and the unsettling sensation that the Krellian Empire might not be the dominant power it had always assumed itself to be. The human advantage. The return to the eternal dominance was conducted in uncharacteristic silence. For Krellians, a species that prided itself on martial prowess and technological superiority, the encounter with the human vessel had been profoundly unsettling. As Koravan's shuttle docked with the flagship, Sub-Commander Nelvera awaited with visible concern. Supreme Commander, we detected unusual energy fluctuations from the human vessel during your boarding operation. Are you unharmed? Koravan stepped onto the deck, his exoskeletal plates shifting subtly, a sign of deep thought in Krellian body language. Gather the senior staff in the strategic chamber. Immediately. Minutes later, surrounded by his command team, Koravan recounted the encounter. As he spoke, the atmosphere in the room grew increasingly tense. Krellians were not accustomed to technological inferiority. Their empire had expanded across 17 star systems precisely because their technology outmatched all opposition. This is unprecedented, Strategy Master Varax declared, his ancient exoskeleton bearing the marks of countless campaigns. Humans have never demonstrated such capabilities in previous encounters. Because they chose not to, Koravan replied. We've been allowed to see what they wished us to see. My assessment is that humanity has been concealing their true technological development. The data packet transmitted by the Harbinger had been quarantined in a secure system, isolated from the main network. Science Officer Xerix approached the display with characteristic caution. The information appears non-malicious, Supreme Commander. It contains diplomatic credentials for a human representative named Ambassador Elena Takashima and proposed guidelines for territorial rights in the Verge sector. There are also technical specifications for communication protocols to establish direct dialogue with their government. Could it be deception? Nelvera asked. An elaborate ruse to make us overestimate their capabilities. Koravan considered this. Possible, but unlikely. The vessel demonstrated technological mastery beyond anything we've encountered. They neutralized our weapons and systems with ease. No, Sub-Commander, I believe we are dealing with something unprecedented. An alert chimed, and Communications Officer Thrix's antennae shot upright. Supreme Commander, the human vessel is activating. Energy signatures increasing exponentially. The main display shifted to an external view. The Harbinger, previously dormant, now pulsed with light. Its hull, seemingly ordinary moments before, began to transform. Sections that had appeared damaged now smoothed and sealed. Panels shifted to reveal weapon ports that had been invisible to Krellian scans. They're powering weapons. Tactical Officer Morev reported, mandibles clicking rapidly, the Krellian equivalent of alarm. Defensive posture, Koravan ordered calmly, but do not target them. Not yet. The human vessel continued its metamorphosis. What had seemed like an unremarkable ship now bristled with advanced weaponry. Its hull gleamed with a material that appeared to absorb and redirect light, a form of adaptive camouflage far more sophisticated than Krellian technology. New energy signature detected, Science Officer Xerix reported. It appears they're activating a propulsion system unlike anything in our records. The Harbinger began to move, not with the lumbering acceleration of conventional engines, but with an impossible grace. It circled the much larger Krellian vessel in a display of maneuverability that defied physics as the Krellians understood them. They're transmitting again, Thrix announced. The holographic projector in the center of the command chamber activated, and a human figure materialized. Not the AI this time, but a living human. She was female, smaller than the average Krellian by at least a meter, with dark skin and eyes that carried an unsettling intensity. Her uniform was simple but immaculate, bearing insignia that Koravan did not recognize. "Supreme Commander Koravan," she said, her voice carrying a natural authority despite her diminutive size. "I am Captain Helena Chen of the United Earth Alliance. I apologize for the deception, but it was necessary to accurately gauge your intentions." Koravan studied the human carefully. "You were aboard the vessel the entire time?" "Yes, along with my crew of 43 specialists. We monitored your boarding party and your reactions to our technology." "You placed yourself at considerable risk, Captain," Koravan noted. "Had we chosen to destroy your vessel from orbit, you would have found that considerably more difficult than anticipated." Chen replied with what appeared to be a human expression of amusement. "The Harbinger was designed specifically to withstand Krellian weapons. We've studied your tactical patterns for years." This revelation sent ripples of unease through the command staff. The idea that humans had been studying them, likely for decades, without detection was almost inconceivable. "Why reveal yourselves now?" Koravan asked. "The Verge sector is becoming strategically important to multiple species. We prefer to establish clear understandings before misunderstandings lead to unnecessary conflict." Captain Chen's expression remained neutral. Humanity has a saying: "An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure." Koravan processed this carefully. The human idiom translated poorly through the language systems, but he grasped its intent. "You seek to prevent conflict through demonstration of strength." "Through mutual respect," Chen corrected. "The Krellian Empire has expanded impressively, and your species has much to be proud of. We don't wish to challenge your existing territory, merely to establish boundaries for future interaction." At that moment, sensors detected a spatial distortion forming near the Harbinger. A section of space shimmered and folded, revealing another vessel, and then another. Within moments, 5 human warships had appeared, each substantially larger than the Harbinger. "Stealth field technology," whispered Science Officer Xerix in disbelief. "They were there all along." The revelation silenced the command chamber. Stealth field technology of this sophistication was thought to be theoretically impossible. The energy requirements alone would be astronomical. Yet here was evidence that humans had not only conceptualized it, but had perfected it to a degree that it completely evaded Krellian detection. "My battle group has been monitoring this encounter from the beginning," Captain Chen explained. "Not as a threat, but as insurance. We anticipated that demonstrations might be necessary to establish credibility." Tactical Officer Morev leaned toward Koravan. "Supreme Commander, their weapon systems are unlike anything in our database. Preliminary analysis suggests capabilities that could neutralize our shields within minutes." For the first time in his career, Koravan found himself in a position of clear disadvantage. The humans had outmaneuvered them, not just tactically but strategically. Their entire understanding of humanity's place in the galactic hierarchy had been based on carefully curated misinformation. "You've hidden your true capabilities from the galaxy," Koravan stated. "Why?" "Necessity," Chen replied simply. "Humanity is young compared to many species. We learned early that advanced civilizations often react poorly to rapidly developing newcomers. Some see them as threats to be eliminated before they can become competitors." The implication was clear. Humans had concealed their technological progress as a survival strategy, allowing potential adversaries to underestimate them, while they continued to develop in secret. "We've had functional faster-than-light travel for less than 2 centuries, Chen continued. "In that time, we've encountered species that have been spacefaring for millennia. We chose caution over confrontation." Koravan felt a new emotion stirring, something like admiration. "A wise strategy," he admitted, "one worthy of the Krellian military academies." Chen inclined her head slightly, a human gesture of acknowledgement. "We've studied your military doctrine extensively, Supreme Commander." Your people's tactical innovations are impressive. In many ways, our approach to space combat has been influenced by Krellian principles. This unexpected compliment shifted the atmosphere in the command chamber. The humans were not merely showing strength. They were offering respect. The data packet we provided contains a proposal, Chen continued. The Verge sector has resources valuable to both our peoples. We suggest a cooperative approach rather than competition. Shared mining rights, joint scientific outposts, and clear territorial demarcation. Strategy Master Verox leaned forward. Why would we agree to share what we could take? Because the cost would be prohibitive, Chen answered without hesitation. We've run the simulations, Strategy Master. A conflict between our civilizations would be devastating for both sides, regardless of who ultimately prevailed. As if to emphasize her point, the human vessels adjusted their formation, creating a defensive perimeter that effectively surrounded the Krellian flagship. It was a clear demonstration of tactical coordination and a subtle reminder of the firepower now focused on the eternal dominance. We prefer allies to adversaries, Chen added, especially allies with the Krellians' proven capabilities and discipline. Koravan regarded the human captain thoughtfully. In her, he recognized a kindred spirit, a warrior who understood that true strength came not just from weapons, but from strategy and foresight. Your proposal will be transmitted to the Imperial hierarchy, he said finally. I will include my personal recommendation that it be given serious consideration. Thank you, Supreme Commander. That's all we ask. The hologram flickered, but before it disappeared, Captain Chen added one final comment. As a gesture of good faith, we're transmitting technical specifications for an improved shield harmonizer compatible with your systems. It should increase your defensive capability by approximately 17% against radiation and pulsar regions. Consider it a token of potential friendship. After the transmission ended, the command chamber erupted into animated discussion. Krellians were not accustomed to technological gifts from other species, particularly not advancements they hadn't already developed themselves. Science Officer Xerix examined the transmitted specifications with growing excitement. Supreme Commander, this is genuine. The theoretical principles are sound, and the application is elegant. Implementation would indeed provide the stated benefits. Why would they share technology with a potential adversary? Nelvera questioned. Because they're showing us the tip of the spear, Koravan replied. If this is what they're willing to share, imagine what they're keeping in reserve. The human vessels maintained their position, neither threatening nor retreating. Their presence, previously hidden, now revealed, forced a fundamental recalculation of strategic realities. Your orders, Supreme Commander, Nelvera asked. Koravan studied the human ships, seeing them with new understanding. Send acknowledgement of their proposal. Inform them that we will withdraw from this sector pending Imperial review of their diplomatic initiative. Withdraw. Tactical Officer Morav's mandibles clicked in surprise. But our orders were to secure. Our orders were based on incomplete information, Koravan interrupted. The tactical situation has changed. We will adjust accordingly. As the Eternal Dominance altered course and prepared to depart, Koravan retreated to his private chamber. There, away from the eyes of his command staff, he reviewed the encounter repeatedly. The humans had orchestrated everything meticulously. The seemingly vulnerable ship, the selective revelations of technology, and finally the diplomatic proposal backed by unmistakable strength. It was, he had to admit, a masterful approach. The humans had achieved their objective without firing a single shot. They had forced the Krellian Empire, conquerors of 17 star systems, to reevaluate everything they thought they knew about an allegedly primitive species. His private communication console chimed, indicating a secure transmission from Imperial Command. They would want his assessment, his recommendations for dealing with this unexpected development in human capabilities. Koravan paused before accepting the transmission. What he said next would shape the Empire's approach to humanity for generations to come. War was always an option. The Krellian Empire had not become a dominant power through hesitation or compromise. And yet, There was wisdom in recognizing worthy opponents or potential allies. The humans had demonstrated not just advanced technology, but strategic thinking that matched or exceeded Krellian standards. They had revealed enough strength to command respect, while clearly holding much in reserve. Most importantly, they had offered partnership rather than demanding submission. That alone set them apart from most species the Krellians had encountered during their expansion. Koravan accepted the transmission. Supreme Commander Koravan reporting. I have encountered something unexpected in the Verge sector, something that will change the Empire forever. As the Eternal Dominance accelerated away from the human vessels, Captain Helena Chen watched from the bridge of the Harbinger. Beside her stood her first officer, Commander Takahashi. Do you think they believed it? Takahashi asked quietly. Chen smiled slightly. They believed what they saw. Whether that's enough remains to be seen. The shield harmonizer technology was a significant disclosure, Takahashi noted. R&D won't be pleased. It was necessary, Chen replied. We needed to demonstrate good faith while simultaneously proving our technological advantages. That particular advancement struck the right balance. Useful, but not revolutionary. On the main screen, the massive Krellian warship diminished with distance, eventually disappearing into FTL transit. Only then did the tension on the Harbinger's bridge dissipate noticeably. Status of the holographic battle group? Chen asked. Projections maintaining stability, Captain, reported Lieutenant Rivera from the tactical station. Power consumption within acceptable parameters. Chen nodded with satisfaction. The fleet that had so impressed the Krellians existed only as sophisticated holographic projections, enhanced by energy signatures designed to mimic actual vessels. The Harbinger itself was indeed advanced, the most advanced scout ship in the United Earth Alliance, but humanity was still far from matching the Krellian Empire's true military might in terms of numbers and firepower. But the Krellians didn't need to know that. Not yet. Send word to Alliance Command, Chen ordered. First contact protocol completed successfully. The Krellians have taken the bait. As the message was transmitted via quantum entanglement, one technology that humanity genuinely possessed beyond Krellian capabilities, Chen allowed herself a moment of pride. With careful strategy and calculated risk, her small vessel had just secured humanity's position among the stars more effectively than a fleet of actual warships could have done. The humans had indeed studied the Krellians extensively. They understood that for such a martial culture, strength commanded respect. By creating an illusion of overwhelming technological superiority, they had earned a place at the diplomatic table that might otherwise have taken decades to achieve. Set course for Rendezvous Point Alpha, Chen commanded. Let's go home and prepare for negotiations. As the Harbinger accelerated into FTL, Captain Chen reviewed her mission parameters once more. The deception had worked perfectly. The Krellians now believed humanity possessed technology far beyond their actual capabilities, a misconception that would buy Earth valuable time to develop real advancements. Sometimes, Chen reflected, the appearance of strength was as effective as strength itself. Humanity might be younger, and in many ways still catching up to species like the Krellians, but they had one advantage that consistently served them well: the ability to improvise, to create solutions from limited resources, and to convince others that they were more than they appeared to be. It was, perhaps, humanity's greatest strength of all.